Hey folks, this is One for the Road, a John Caldwell podcast exploring Mississippi highway issues and infrastructure challenges. Here there's one person and one voice standing up for the road you travel, the road less traveled, the road in most need, and ultimately the road ahead. Each episode we will shed some light on the who, what, when, and why mysteries that leave many of us scratching our heads, searching for better answers. This is Commissioner John Caldwell. Thanks for listening to One for the Road. Episode 4. Win some, lose some. Welcome back. This is Season 2, Episode 4 of One for the Road with John Caldwell. Keep listening to our podcast for information that matters. If you haven't listened to previous episodes from Season 1 or Season 2, let me encourage you to do so. Most listeners learn something new on each episode, and some are even shocked. Today, we will look at two unique pieces of our MDOT puzzle. First, we'll look at the funding piece and the wins and the losses associated with that. Some of the political spin and the outright bragging recently has been inaccurate at best. Secondly, we'll look at pay scales and some wins and losses there. Specifically, I'll focus on our entry-level pay scale. It's so low we can't even keep enough road crews hired and trained. So let's take a look at our new and old monies to start. In many ways, we've made a lot of progress. Across Mississippi and along our highways, we have experienced tangible, though not so steady, improvements. Attention and focus on our highways and byways seems to come and go politically. However, the actual maintenance and construction needs are endless. And the recently renewed emphasis from the legislature and statewide leaders must continue. We not only need to better maintain for now, but we need to improve for the challenges we face in a dynamic future of modern transportation. Thankfully, the conversation in Jackson among our lawmakers has shifted in an extremely positive way to improve overall funding for our roads and bridges. It must continue beyond the current steps taken, and for those of us who understand third grade math, we don't need a wait-and-see approach to see what the new tax generates. This year's legislators boldly passed a fuel tax while also lowering other taxes. That's an amazing accomplishment, and we should all be grateful. I know I am. A substantial amount of the increase is going to qualified county infrastructure within the state aid system, managed by the Office of State Aid Road Construction, not MDOT. MDOT has benefited too. However, the MDOT portion of the fuel tax increase, when fully implemented, will amount to less than 10% of our total budget. Not exactly a windfall, but better than a kick in the shin. With MDOT budget now about $1.44 billion, the additional state fuel tax will produce a diminishing percentage of increase for the next 3 years. That's about $50 million or so for each annual 3-cent per gallon increase, until the fuel tax adjustment is lowered to an additional penny or less on the fourth year and any subsequent years. This guarantees a revenue source that doesn't catch up or keep up with simple inflation. Let me say that again. This guarantees a revenue source that doesn't catch up or keep up with simple inflation. The new recurring revenue is still a win. We would be in real trouble without it. Our needs are huge, or huge, to borrow a popular term from our beloved president, especially in North Mississippi where the state highways have been most neglected. It's okay that the small fuel tax increase falls short because it should not be the only source of new recurring revenue for MDOT. Our roads and our future demands more. So Mississippi fuel tax rates staying below the national average is a win for taxpayers. But regressive and inadequate funding of our highways is a loss. MDOT's current budget depends almost exclusively on federal and state fuel tax revenues, which has proven to be and will continue to prove inadequate. Some history of that would be beneficial for us today. For example, if you drive 30,000 miles annually and get about 18 miles per gallon, that would require you to purchase 1,667 gallons a year. If you drive and pay for those gallons for 70 years, you will have burned 116,690 gallons and paid $21,271 in state fuel tax and the same for federal fuel tax. So let's look at it another way.
Instead of a 70-year individual lifespan or driving span, let's get to the same 70 years by combining 7 18-wheelers over a truck's 10-year lifespan, each running 100,000 miles in Mississippi per year at 7 miles per gallon. That would account for nearly $500,000 in federal and state fuel tax. Compared to cars, trucks pay a lot more. But neither of them or us touches the $1 million plus per mile cost of simple asphalt overlay. Collectively, we squeak by. It's simple arithmetic, and our roads continue to suffer while fuel taxes leave us wanting. On July 1st of this year, the fuel tax will rise for the first time since Mississippi's 1987 four-lane highway program was begun. Since then, it remained 18.4 cents per gallon on both diesel and gasoline. Until this time next year, it will be 21.4 cents per gallon. Comparatively, Florida sits higher at 38.6 cents, and California is the highest with 68.1 cents per gallon state fuel tax. The national average for state and local fuel tax is hovering around 35 cents per gallon and going up. The Senate language placed into House Bill 1 ensures that MDOT highway funding gets increases, but they will remain below any level of inflation. That will work only if we diversify our transportation revenue by adding other appropriate state diversions and effectively reduce our dependence on the federal money and on fuel taxes themselves. Those conversations have already begun, and we need them to gain some momentum. Otherwise, the fuel tax discussion will come back in short order, and our highways will be lacking again. That's the financial truth in a nutshell. Another way we're impacted by legislative action or inaction involves our worker pay scales. Legislation a few years ago was well intended to help, but that was before inflation and real wages skyrocketed. MDOT has made the most of it, and some senior employee retention has improved noticeably. But the way it was set up, we mostly were able to help engineers and staff members in the top salary brackets. Now, many maintenance workers with enough seniority and skill saw noticeable pay hikes too. But the new frontline workers haven't kept pace. In the next legislative session, we need to change that. Offering around $13 per hour, up from $10, just doesn't cut it in today's market, especially when air-conditioned warehouse workers start at $17 and $18 per hour. Even Mississippi's poorest counties have the money and starting pay to effectively steal our employees from our state crews faster than we can hire them. To top it off, we are a special fund agency, so our final budget doesn't rise and fall based on our salaries. It is set based on projected revenue tied to the fuel tax. So I'm not sure why the legislature holds us back from providing better starting wages. With a more competitive increase in pay and greater ability to offer overtime hours, we could get take-home pay up to an acceptable level for everyone and get more done that taxpayer demands. If we could get minimum starting pay up to about $17 an hour with a manager-approved overtime of up to 8 hours per week, we could make a real difference. That's 10 hours per day, Monday through Thursday, and an 8-hour overtime day on Friday. Then we can back out some of those long days in the winter when there's less daylight. It seems like the right thing to do for all concerned. And with that, we could chalk up more wins along the way.
Thanks again for listening. New podcast episodes will be shedding more light on unique transportation challenges across Mississippi. If you've enjoyed this and are ready for more, please hit the like button below, make a comment, place a review, or share this podcast with a friend. And join our following on Commissioner John Caldwell Facebook page. Until next time, slow down, drive in the right lane, and watch out for that pothole.